The rain hit Rosalie's face like tiny needles as she stood on the doorstep, her suitcase getting soaked beside her. Behind the glass door, she could see her husband Bruce turning the lock with cold, angry eyes. Thunder crashed above them, and lightning lit up the dark street. "Please, Bruce," she cried, pounding on the door. "It's dangerous out here. Where am I supposed to go?" But Bruce had already walked away, leaving her alone in the storm. Water dripped from her hair, mixing with the tears on her cheeks. She had nowhere to go, no family nearby, and all her friends had slowly disappeared over the years. What she didn't know was that someone was watching from the house across the street. Emelia, Bruce's best friend since childhood, had seen everything through her window. She grabbed her umbrella and ran outside. "Hey everyone, before we continue, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing from viewers around the world." Now, let me tell you how this whole mess started. 6 months earlier, Rosalie had been the happiest woman alive. She and Bruce had just celebrated their 3rd wedding anniversary, and everything seemed perfect. They lived in a beautiful house with a white picket fence, and Bruce worked as a manager at a big company in London. "I love you exactly as you are," Bruce had whispered to her that night, holding her close. "No matter what happens, I'll always love you." Those words meant everything to Rosalie. She believed them with her whole heart. But life has a way of testing promises. It started when Rosalie lost her job at the bookstore. The owner said they had to cut costs, and she was the newest employee. The stress of being unemployed made her eat more comfort food. Then her mother got sick, and Rosalie spent weeks taking care of her, barely sleeping, surviving on takeout and snacks. Slowly, Rosalie gained weight. Not a lot at first, just a few pounds here and there. But Bruce noticed everything. "Maybe you should try that new gym down the street," he said one morning, looking at her over his coffee cup. His voice was casual, but his eyes were cold. "I've been stressed about Mom," Rosalie explained, stirring her tea nervously. "Once she gets better, I'll have more time to exercise." Bruce didn't say anything, but she could feel his disappointment like a heavy cloud in the room. As the weeks passed, Bruce became more and more distant. He stopped holding her hand during their evening walks. He stopped complimenting her cooking. He even stopped kissing her goodbye in the mornings. "What's wrong?" Rosalie asked one night, finding him sleeping on the couch again. "Nothing," he said, not even looking at her. "I'm just tired." But Rosalie knew it wasn't nothing. She could see the way he looked at her now, like she was a stranger he didn't recognize. The woman he had married was disappearing in his eyes, replaced by someone he didn't want to love anymore. She tried everything to win him back. She bought new clothes, hoping to catch his attention. She cooked his favorite meals every night. She even started going to the gym, working out until her whole body ached. But nothing worked. Bruce had made up his mind. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening. Rosalie had spent the whole day cleaning the house and preparing a special dinner for Bruce's birthday. She wore the blue dress he used to love, the one that made her feel beautiful. When Bruce came home, he barely looked at the decorations or the cake she had made from scratch. "We need to talk," he said, loosening his tie. Rosalie's heart sank. She had heard those words before, and they never led to anything good. "About what?" she asked, though she already knew. "About us. About this marriage." Bruce sat down across from her at the dining table, pushing away the birthday cake she had worked so hard to make perfect. "I can't do this anymore, Rosalie," he said. "You're not the woman I married. You've changed." "I know I've gained some weight," Rosalie said quickly, "but I'm working on it. I've been going to the gym, and I've already lost 5 pounds this month." Bruce shook his head. "It's not just the weight. It's everything. You've stopped taking care of yourself. You've stopped trying to be attractive. You've stopped being the woman I fell in love with." Each word felt like a knife in Rosalie's chest. "But you said you'd love me no matter what. You promised." "I thought I could," Bruce said, his voice getting harder. "But I was wrong. I have needs, Rosalie. I need to be attracted to my wife. I need to feel proud when I'm with her. And I don't feel that anymore." Rosalie started crying, but Bruce didn't soften. If anything, her tears seemed to make him angrier. "Don't cry," he said coldly. "Crying won't change anything. It's time for you to face reality." "What reality?" Rosalie whispered. "That this marriage is over." The room went silent except for the sound of rain starting to fall outside. Rosalie stared at her husband, the man who had promised to love her forever, and saw a stranger. "I don't want a divorce," she said firmly. "I love you, Bruce. We can work through this." "There's nothing to work through," Bruce replied. "I've already made my decision. I want you out of this house." "Out?" Rosalie couldn't believe what she was hearing. "This is my home too." "No, it's not. The house is in my name. I paid for everything. You contributed nothing." That wasn't true, and they both knew it. Rosalie had used her savings to help with the down payment. She had worked part-time jobs to help pay the bills. She had made this house a home with her love and care. But Bruce was rewriting history to make himself feel better about what he was doing. "Where am I supposed to go?" Rosalie asked. "I don't have anywhere else." "That's not my problem anymore," Bruce said, standing up. "I want you out tonight." "Tonight? But it's raining, and it's getting dark." "I don't care. Pack your things and leave." Rosalie sat there for a moment, hoping this was all a nightmare she would wake up from. But the cold look in Bruce's eyes told her it was real. She went upstairs to their bedroom, what used to be their bedroom, and packed her clothes into 2 suitcases. Her hands shook as she folded each item, remembering the happy times when Bruce used to compliment her in these same clothes. In the back of her closet, she found their wedding photo. They looked so happy, so in love. Bruce's arms were wrapped around her, and they were both smiling like they had the whole world ahead of them. She touched the glass, remembering how he had looked at her that day like she was the most beautiful woman in the world. "I'll love you forever," he had whispered during their first dance. "Nothing will ever change that." Rosalie put the photo in her suitcase and zipped it closed. When she came downstairs, Bruce was waiting by the front door with his arms crossed. "Hurry up," he said. "I have plans tonight." The rain was getting heavier now, and the wind was picking up. Through the window, Rosalie could see tree branches swaying dangerously. "Can't I at least wait until morning?" she pleaded one last time. "The weather is getting worse." "No," Bruce said, opening the door. Cold air and raindrops immediately swept into the house. "I want you gone now." Rosalie dragged her suitcases to the door, struggling with their weight. Bruce didn't offer to help. He just stood there, watching her like she was garbage he was finally throwing away. "Please, Bruce," she said, tears mixing with the rain on her face. "I love you. We can fix this. We can go to counseling or—" "It's too late," Bruce interrupted. "I don't love you anymore. I probably never really did." Those words hit Rosalie harder than any physical blow could have. She looked at the man she had trusted with her heart, the man she had built her whole life around, and realized she had never really known him at all. "You're making a mistake," she whispered. "The only mistake I made was marrying you in the first place," Bruce said. And with that, he slammed the door in her face and turned the lock. Rosalie stood there in the pouring rain, staring at the door that had been her entrance to home for 3 years. The windows that had once welcomed her with warm light now looked dark and cold. She was alone, soaked, and heartbroken. She had no idea where to go or what to do next. But across the street, someone had been watching the whole terrible scene unfold. Emelia, Bruce's childhood friend, had seen everything from her living room window. She had watched Bruce throw Rosalie out into the storm like she was nothing. And Emelia couldn't stand by and watch anymore. She grabbed her umbrella and ran out into the rain, her heart pounding with anger at what Bruce had done. She had known him since they were kids, and she had never seen him be so cruel to anyone. "Rosalie!" she called out, running across the wet street. "Rosalie, wait!" Rosalie turned around, surprised to see Emelia running toward her. She barely knew Bruce's friend. They had only met a few times at parties and dinners. "You can't stay out here," Emelia said, holding the umbrella over both of them. "Come with me. You can stay at my house tonight." "I don't want to be a burden," Rosalie said, her voice shaking from cold and emotion. "You're not a burden," Emelia said firmly. "No one should be thrown out into a storm like this. Bruce should be ashamed of himself." Rosalie looked back at her old house one more time. The curtains were already drawn, and no light came from the windows. Bruce had already moved on, like she had never existed. "Okay," she whispered. "Thank you." Emelia helped her carry her suitcases across the street to her small but cozy house. Once inside, she gave Rosalie a warm towel and made her a cup of hot tea. "I'm sorry you had to see that," Rosalie said, wrapping the towel around her shoulders. "I'm sorry it happened at all," Emelia replied. "Bruce was wrong to treat you like that. Completely wrong." For the first time in months, Rosalie felt like someone was on her side. Someone who didn't judge her or blame her for what had happened. "I don't know what I'm going to do," Rosalie admitted. "I have no job, no family nearby, and now no home." "You'll figure it out," Emelia said gently. "But first, you need to get some rest. Tomorrow, we can start making a plan." That night, Rosalie lay in Emelia's guest room, listening to the rain hit the window. She thought about everything that had happened, everything she had lost. But for the first time in months, she wasn't completely alone. Someone had shown her kindness when she needed it most. Someone had seen her worth when her own husband couldn't. As she drifted off to sleep, Rosalie had no idea that this night would change everything. She didn't know that Emelia was about to become the most important person in her life. She didn't know that Bruce would soon regret his decision more than anything he had ever done. And she definitely didn't know that the woman who had been thrown away like garbage was about to discover just how strong and beautiful she really was. The storm outside was just beginning, but inside Rosalie's heart, something new was starting to grow. Something that would soon become unstoppable. But Bruce had made his choice. He had chosen to throw away the woman who loved him most, and he was about to learn that some mistakes can never be undone. The rain continued to fall, washing away the old life that was ending and preparing the ground for something completely new to begin. What happened next would shock everyone, especially Bruce, who thought he had won by getting rid of the wife he no longer wanted. He had no idea that his biggest loss was just beginning. 3 months later, Bruce was sitting in his empty house, eating a sad microwave dinner when he heard laughter coming from across the street. He looked out his window and froze. There was Rosalie, but she looked different. She was wearing a beautiful yellow dress that hugged her body perfectly. Her hair was shiny and styled in a way that made her face glow. She was laughing with Emelia as they walked to Emelia's car, and Bruce had never seen her look so happy. But what shocked him most was how beautiful she looked. Not just pretty, absolutely stunning. She had lost weight, but more than that, she seemed to shine with confidence and joy. "That can't be Rosalie," Bruce whispered to himself, pressing his face against the window. But it was, and she looked better than she had ever looked during their marriage. For the first time since throwing her out, Bruce felt a stab of regret in his chest. Let me tell you how this incredible transformation happened. The morning after the storm, Rosalie woke up in Emelia's guest room feeling lost and broken. She had cried herself to sleep, and her eyes were red and puffy. She looked in the mirror and saw someone she barely recognized, a woman who had been thrown away like garbage. "Good morning," Emelia said softly, bringing her a cup of coffee. "How did you sleep?" "Not well," Rosalie admitted. "I keep thinking this is all a bad dream." "It's not a dream," Emelia said, sitting beside her. "But it's also not the end of your story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter." Rosalie looked at Emelia with surprise. "How can you say that? My husband threw me out. I have nothing left." "You have yourself," Emelia said firmly, "and that's more powerful than you know." Over the next few days, Emelia helped Rosalie get back on her feet. She helped her apply for jobs, took her shopping for interview clothes, and most importantly, she listened when Rosalie needed to talk. "I keep thinking about what I did wrong," Rosalie said one evening as they sat in Emelia's kitchen. "Maybe if I had tried harder to lose weight, or if I had been more interesting, or if I had—" "Stop," Emelia interrupted. "You did nothing wrong. Bruce made a choice to love you only when you looked a certain way. That's not love, that's selfishness. But he said he'd love me no matter what, Rosalie whispered. And he broke that promise, Emelia said. That's his failure, not yours. Real love doesn't disappear when someone gains a few pounds or goes through a hard time. Those words hit Rosalie like a lightning bolt. For the first time, she began to see that maybe Bruce's rejection said more about him than it did about her. I want to become strong again, Rosalie said quietly. I want to remember who I was before I became so worried about pleasing Bruce. Then let's start tomorrow, Emelia smiled. But we're not doing this for Bruce or for anyone else. We're doing this for you. The next morning, Emelia took Rosalie to a small gym run by a kind woman named Mrs. Thompson. Unlike the fancy gym Bruce had suggested, this place felt welcoming and safe. I'm not here to lose weight for my husband, Rosalie explained to the trainer. I'm here to feel strong for myself. That's the best reason of all, Mrs. Thompson said with a warm smile. Rosalie started slowly. At first, she could barely walk on the treadmill for 10 minutes without getting tired. But she didn't give up. Every day, she pushed herself a little bit more. Emelia joined her for most workouts, cheering her on and making the whole experience fun instead of punishment. You're getting stronger, Emelia would say. Look how much longer you can run now. And Rosalie could feel it, not just in her body, but in her spirit. Every day she spent taking care of herself, she felt a little bit more like the confident woman she used to be. But the real change started happening in her mind. Emelia gave her a journal and suggested she write down her thoughts and feelings every day. I don't know what to write, Rosalie said, staring at the blank page. Write about anything, Emelia suggested. Your day, your dreams, your fears. Just let it all out. So Rosalie started writing. At first, most of her entries were about Bruce and how much she missed him. But slowly, she began writing about other things. Her goals, her hopes, things she wanted to try. I used to love painting, she wrote one day. I stopped because Bruce said it was a waste of time and money. But I miss it. I miss creating something beautiful with my own hands. The next day, Emelia surprised her with a set of watercolor paints. I thought you might want to try painting again, she said. Rosalie's eyes filled with tears, but they were happy tears this time. Thank you. No one has ever listened to me like this before. Everyone deserves to be heard, Emelia said simply. Rosalie started painting every evening after her workouts. She painted flowers, sunsets, and abstract pictures that showed her emotions. With each brushstroke, she felt herself coming back to life. Around the same time, she got a job at a local library. It wasn't a big salary, but she loved being around books again. The head librarian, Mr. Davies, was a kind man who appreciated Rosalie's gentle way with customers. You have a gift for helping people, he told her one day. The way you recommend books, you really listen to what they need. Rosalie realized she had always been good at understanding people and helping them. Bruce had made her feel like she was good at nothing, but that wasn't true at all. As weeks turned into months, Rosalie began to transform in ways that had nothing to do with her appearance. She started laughing more. She made friends with her coworkers. She joined a book club at the library. I feel like I'm waking up from a long sleep, she told Emelia one evening as they cooked dinner together. You're becoming yourself again, Emelia said. The real you, not the version Bruce wanted you to be. And it was true. The woman who had been thrown out in the rain was disappearing, replaced by someone stronger and more confident. But the physical changes were happening too. All the healthy eating, regular exercise, and genuine happiness were making Rosalie glow from the inside out. She was losing weight, but more importantly, she was gaining strength and energy. One day, she was getting ready for work when she caught sight of herself in the mirror. She stopped and stared. The woman looking back at her was beautiful, not because she was thinner, but because she looked alive and happy. Her eyes sparkled with confidence. Her smile was real and bright. I'm beautiful, she whispered to herself, and for the first time in years, she truly believed it. Meanwhile, across the street, Bruce was having a very different experience. At first, he had felt relieved when Rosalie left. He could eat whatever he wanted, watch whatever he wanted on TV, and he didn't have to look at someone who reminded him of his broken promises. But the relief didn't last long. The house felt empty and cold without Rosalie's warmth. There were no more home-cooked meals, no more fresh flowers on the table, no more someone who cared about how his day had gone. Bruce tried dating other women, but none of them measured up to what he had lost. They were pretty, but they didn't know how to make him laugh like Rosalie did. They didn't understand his dreams and fears the way she had. "I made the right choice," he kept telling himself. "I deserve better than someone who let herself go." But deep down, he was starting to doubt himself. The doubt became impossible to ignore the day he saw Rosalie laughing with Emelia outside the library where she worked. She looked incredible. Her hair was styled beautifully, her clothes fit perfectly, and she had a glow about her that took his breath away. But what really shocked him was how happy she looked. During their marriage, especially near the end, Rosalie had always looked worried and sad. She had walked around the house like she was apologizing for existing. But this woman, this version of Rosalie, looked free and joyful. She looked like someone who loved herself. "She looks better than ever," Bruce whispered, watching from his car. That night, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He remembered how she used to wake up early to make his favorite breakfast, how she would rub his shoulders when he was stressed, how she would listen to his problems and always know exactly what to say. "Maybe I made a mistake," he said to himself. The thought scared him, but he couldn't shake it. Over the next few weeks, Bruce found himself watching Rosalie's life from across the street. He saw her leaving for work every morning, looking professional and confident. He saw her coming home with grocery bags, looking happy and independent. He even saw her bringing home art supplies and setting up an easel by the window. She was painting again, something she had loved but stopped doing during their marriage. "I told her painting was a waste of time," Bruce remembered with shame. "But look how happy it makes her." The more Bruce watched, the more he realized what he had lost. Rosalie wasn't just looking better physically. She was becoming the amazing woman she had always been underneath the sadness and insecurity he had caused. And he was the one who had thrown it all away. One evening, Bruce couldn't stand it anymore. He walked across the street and knocked on Emelia's door. Emelia opened it, and her face immediately went cold when she saw him. "What do you want, Bruce?" she asked, not inviting him in. "I want to talk to Rosalie," he said. "I made a mistake. I want her back." "Are you serious right now?" Emelia's voice was full of anger. "You threw her out in a storm 3 months ago. You told her you never really loved her. And now you want her back." "I was wrong," Bruce said desperately. "I see that now. She looks amazing. She's everything I ever wanted. She's everything you always had." Emelia snapped. "But you were too blind and selfish to see it. You only want her back now because she's lost weight and looks the way you think she should look." "That's not true," Bruce protested. But even as he said it, he knew Emelia was right. "Yes, it is," Emelia said. "You don't love Rosalie. You love the idea of having a wife who looks good and makes you feel proud. That's not love, that's ownership." Bruce stood there, realizing that his friend had seen right through him. "Please," he said quietly, "just let me talk to her. Let me apologize." "She's not here," Emelia said. "She's out on a date." The words hit Bruce like a punch to the stomach. "A date? With who?" "With a man who appreciates her for who she is," Emelia said. "A man who thinks she's beautiful inside and out. A man who would never throw her out in a storm." Bruce felt jealous and angry, but he also felt something else, regret so deep it made his chest ache. "I love her," he said weakly. "No, you don't," Emelia said firmly. "If you loved her, you would have loved her when she was sad and struggling. You would have helped her through difficult times instead of making them worse. You would have kept your promise to love her no matter what." Emelia stepped closer, and Bruce could see the anger in her eyes. "Do you know what Rosalie was doing the night you threw her out?" she asked. Bruce shook his head. "She was making you a birthday cake. She had spent all day cleaning and decorating, trying to make you happy. She wore your favorite dress and spent her last bit of money on ingredients for a cake you didn't even try." Bruce's heart sank as he remembered. He had been so focused on his own anger that he had completely forgotten about the effort Rosalie had put in. "She loved you completely," Emelia continued. "She would have done anything for you, and you threw her away because she gained a few pounds during the most stressful time of her life." "I know I was wrong," Bruce said, his voice breaking, "but I want to make it right. I want to try again." "It's too late," Emelia said. "Rosalie has moved on. She's happy now, probably for the first time in years. She's with someone who treats her like the treasure she is." Just then, Bruce heard laughter coming from down the street. He turned and saw Rosalie walking toward the house with a tall, handsome man. She was wearing a beautiful blue dress and laughing at something he had said. The man was holding her hand and looking at her like she was the most wonderful woman in the world. Bruce recognized him. It was Daniel, a lawyer who lived a few blocks away. He was successful, kind, and clearly crazy about Rosalie. "Rosalie," Bruce called out, stepping into the street. Rosalie stopped when she saw him. For a moment, her smile faded and Bruce could see old pain flash across her face. But then she stood up straighter, and her confidence returned. "Hello, Bruce," she said calmly. "You look—" Bruce started, then stopped. He had been about to say beautiful, but he realized how shallow that would sound. "I look what?" Rosalie asked, raising an eyebrow. "You look happy," Bruce said quietly. "I am happy," Rosalie said. "Very happy." Daniel stepped closer to Rosalie, putting a protective arm around her shoulders. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "Everything's fine," Rosalie said, looking up at Daniel with genuine affection. "This is my ex-husband, Bruce." "Bruce, this is Daniel." Daniel nodded politely but didn't offer to shake hands. Bruce could see that Daniel knew exactly who he was and what he had done. "Can we talk?" Bruce asked Rosalie. "Privately?" "We can talk right here," Rosalie said. "I have nothing to hide from Daniel or Emelia." Bruce felt embarrassed, but he pressed on. "I made a mistake, Rosalie. A huge mistake. I want you to come back. I want us to try again." Rosalie looked at him for a long moment, and Bruce held his breath, hoping she would say yes. "No," she said simply. "No." Bruce couldn't believe it. But look at you. You're exactly what I always wanted you to be." "I'm exactly what I always was," Rosalie said firmly. "I'm the same person you threw out in the rain 3 months ago. The only difference is that now I know my worth." "But I love you," Bruce said desperately. "No, you don't," Rosalie said, and her voice was calm and sure. "You love the way I look now. You love the idea of winning me back. But you don't love me." Bruce started to protest, but Rosalie held up her hand. "If you loved me, you would have loved me when I was struggling. You would have helped me through difficult times instead of making them worse. You would have kept your promise to love me no matter what." Bruce realized she was saying almost the exact same words Emelia had said. The truth was hitting him from all sides. "I can change," he said weakly. "I'm sure you can," Rosalie said. "But I've changed too. I've learned that I deserve better than conditional love. I deserve someone who sees my value even when I'm not perfect." She looked up at Daniel, who smiled down at her with pure adoration. "I deserve someone who loves me for who I am, not just for how I look," she continued. "I deserve someone who would never throw me out in a storm, no matter how angry he was." "I was hurt and confused," Bruce tried to explain. "I wasn't thinking clearly." "You were thinking very clearly," Rosalie said. "You were thinking that I wasn't good enough for you anymore. You were thinking that I was embarrassing you. You were thinking that you could do better." Every word she said was true, and Bruce knew it. "Well, guess what?" Rosalie continued, and now there was fire in her voice. "I can do better too, and I have." She turned to Daniel. "Ready to go inside? I want to show you the painting I finished today." "I'd love to see it," Daniel said, and Bruce could hear the genuine interest in his voice. As they walked toward Emelia's house, Bruce called out one last time. "Rosalie, please." "I'm sorry. I'll do anything." Rosalie stopped and turned back to him. For a moment, Bruce thought she might change her mind. "I forgive you, Bruce," she said softly. "Not for you, but for me. I forgive you so I can be free of the anger and hurt." "Then come back," Bruce pleaded. "Forgiving you doesn't mean going back to you," Rosalie said. "It means I'm choosing to be happy instead of bitter. I'm choosing to love myself the way you never could." She looked at him one last time, and Bruce saw no anger in her eyes, no sadness, no regret. All he saw was peace. "I hope you find someone who makes you happy," she said. "But more than that, I hope you learn to love that person the way they deserve to be loved, completely and unconditionally." And with that, she walked into the house with Daniel and Emelia, leaving Bruce standing alone in the street. Through the window, Bruce could see them inside, laughing and talking. He could see Rosalie showing Daniel her painting, and he could see how Daniel's face lit up with pride and admiration. That should have been him. That could have been him if he had just kept his promises. But he had chosen to throw away the most precious thing he had ever had, and now it was too late. Bruce walked back to his empty house, finally understanding what he had lost. Not just a wife, but his best friend, his biggest supporter, and the only person who had ever loved him completely. He had wanted a perfect wife, and he had had one all along. He just hadn't been able to see it. Now someone else was living the happy life that should have been his. Someone who was smart enough to see Rosalie's worth from the beginning. As Bruce sat in his cold, empty house, he realized that the woman he had thrown away in the rain had been the most beautiful thing in his life. Not because of how she looked, but because of who she was. And now she was gone forever. The rain had stopped months ago, but for Bruce, the storm was just beginning. He would spend the rest of his life regretting the night he chose to throw away true love. But for Rosalie, the storm was over. She had found her rainbow, and she was never going back to the darkness again. She had learned that real love doesn't change with the weather. It doesn't disappear when times get tough. It doesn't depend on how you look or what you weigh. Real love sees you at your worst and chooses to stay. Real love keeps its promises. Real love never throws you out in the rain. And Rosalie had finally found that kind of love, first with herself, and now with someone who would never let her forget how precious she was. The woman who had been thrown away like garbage had discovered she was actually a treasure. And treasures don't belong in the trash. They belong in the hands of someone who knows their true value. Bruce had learned too late that some mistakes can never be undone. Some doors, once slammed shut, can never be opened again. But Rosalie had learned something even more important. That sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing that could ever happen to you. And sometimes, being thrown away is the first step to finding your way home. To yourself. The end. Thank you for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories. And remember, you are worth more than someone who only loves you when you're perfect. Real love is out there, and it starts with loving yourself. Drop a comment below and tell me what you thought of Rosalie's transformation. Where are you watching from?